Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the Pro Box TV studio as well. We're going to talk about 3 days of outstanding fights. Saturday from Saudi Arabia, it is Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull. We'll talk a lot. I already feel the heat to my right from Paulie about the main event, but a very compelling card. And I got the people to help me break it down. The champs, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, joined by Coach Robert Garcia. All right, Chris, before we get into Canelo, you reminded me before this started, compelling card full of really good fights. This one's definitely worth the money, even if you believe Canelo is maybe handpicking some opponents. We'll get to that in a second. But Chris, and kind of an under-the-radar card, is it not?
Well, Canelo's opponent withstanding, it's still Canelo Alvarez. He's the face of boxing, so he's fighting in Riyadh on Cinco de Mayo weekend. So there's a lot of narratives here that make the fight interesting, the card interesting. But man, that co-main event or that next fight down, the Monguia versus Suras rematch, which was knockout of the year last year. I was lucky enough to call that fight. It was absolutely amazing and an incredible one-punch KO from Suras to drop Monguia. And Munguia's back now. They got the rematch. That's a really compelling fight. Listen, that first fight, I mean, I didn't expect that. No one expected that. Obviously, it was upset of the year, KO of the year. But man, Suras, he didn't look surprised. He knew what he was doing in there. I expected. I literally was saying, "Oh, we got another French pastry out here coming to fight." No. This guy can fight. He can punch a little bit. He stayed very much within himself, fighting in his opponent's backyard, and came out with the KO victory. I mean, it was an incredible night that night. And listen, he wants to shock the world once again.
With Suras, how was the fight before the knockout?
Suras was getting dominated.
That's what I'm saying.
But he was smart enough. He was living in the eye of the storm.
But is it the equivalent of the full court shot at the buzzer because you're losing? Let me just shoot the 80-footer and it goes in.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
I could say that.
Is it the equivalent of that?
But
you know?
even in the very first round, I saw a couple shots that Suras ripped off with the right hand. I was like, this guy's got no knockouts in terms of his knockout percentage, but like, he's still in the thing with some heat, and he had a game plan. He knew he couldn't fight him punch for punch. Munguia is a power puncher. He's a volume puncher. You don't want to stand right in front of him. Suras was literally basically going from corner to rope to corner to rope, getting dominated around the ring, but he was smart enough to look for the openings because Munguia leaves himself open. Volume punchers have holes, and he found it.
Robert, I got to ask you from that coaching perspective, if your coaching guy like Munguia has the volume, as Chris said, good power, but he just got caught, do you train him and go, hey, look, we're going to do the same thing again, just watch that counterpunch? How do you get a guy psychologically over an upset loss like that, especially by knockout?
No, look, there is a lot of changes they have to add, and they have to. That's why they brought in Eddie Reynoso, because there's a lot of work to be done. The fight was actually pretty competitive, champs. It's not like Suras was taking the beating and he just got lucky with that punch. He was actually in the fight. He got dropped early in the fight, but that doesn't mean he was taking the beating. I think the fight was actually turning into a very competitive fight. Landed a perfect punch. It wasn't a lucky punch either. It was a punch that he set up and he landed it, and he was landing quite a few times before he knocked him out. I think Monguia needs a lot. Well, that's why he added Eddie Reynoso, because he needed a lot to add to be able to perform better. Because if it was the same Monguia, I wouldn't be surprised if he would get beat again.
What I'm curious about, Paulie, take it over to you. We're talking about Canelo and how you feel about his choice of opponents. If you're watching this Canelo fight, Chris just called him the face of boxing, which you could certainly argue he is, especially with the crossover population, the Mexican fan base. What would you watch this fight for? Is it maybe Canelo gets a little bit older? Is it to watch Canelo take somebody apart? What's the appeal for someone with more boxing knowledge in this fight?
If you're someone with your boxing knowledge, you watch it for the undercard. You don't care about the main event. The undercard is pretty solid. We're talking about
Badu Jack, Bacoli, Ajagba,
who's still lingering around and has won a cruiserweight title. At least the curiosity's there. He's always been an entertaining fighter. Obviously, the Monguia
Suras, French.
Dude, this guy's got an Italian last name. Surace.
I know.
It's so hard not to say it, right? Yeah,
when I was working the card, I could be like, guys, it's Surace. And they're like, no, he says Suras. I'm like, okay.
They Frenchicize it.
Yeah, they put a little French to it.
So that, for me, that's...
The hardcore is it's for the card itself.
I think it's just for the card
itself. What about history?
Well, what do you mean with history?
Yeah, it's a unification. It's a undisputed.
What for Canelo?
Yeah.
No, I tell you what the history is in this fight.
Here we go.
The history in this fight is Turki Al-Rashid continues to make history in that he promises us competitive fights, and he's been delivering constant, amazing fights.
Yes.
He's been delivering the fights that he says, you know what? I'm not going to give these guys freebies. I'm going to make these guys fight each other. And you know what? You've been delivering. But you know what? Even Turki Al-Rashid took the knee to Canelo and let him fight a hand-picked opponent.
Okay.
Even Turki Al-Rashid allowed it. When Turki never allows these kind of fights, he always makes top fight versus top fight. And sometimes he puts the cart ahead of the horse. He always says, I'm going to make these two guys fight, and then I'm going to make this guy fight this guy, not even realizing how competitive he just made that fight, and that guy might get beat before you get to that fight.
We've seen that, yep.
That's how competitive the fights are usually with Turki Al-Rashid, okay?
Crawford, very tough fight under Turki.
Yeah, Turki even with Madrimov, exactly. Crawford with Madrimov, exactly. All tough fights. All what fans want to watch.
Okay.
What are we watching this for?
Wait.
We've been watching already the Canelo escapade for a while already.
What if it was Vladimir Shishkin?
What? Vladimir Shishkin?
What if it wasn't Scull and it was Shishkin?
Does it matter? No.
Well, I'm asking you. Is that a tougher fight?
It's still not appealing. It's still not appealing. I'm sorry, dude. You at this point in kind of time, if Canelo, it's Canelo. You either vacate all the titles and then you can do your retirement tour just like Chavez did. Fine.
Yeah, but
vacate.
this is
No.
this
There's
one-
no but. There's no but.
No.
You gotta get your ass whooped by the top contender the way Chavez did with Oscar De La Hoya, and then you say, you know what? With respect, now I got beat for the belts. I'm gonna go on my retirement tour.
They're
Or
not going
you don't
to allow
disrespect
that
the
to
sport.
happen,
No, then
because
you're disrespecting the sport. Then you wonder why we have this clown show where now you're talking about Jake Paul and versus Gervonta Davis is going to get made soon. And this is why you got this clown show, because it's one clown show competing against the other clown show, and which circus is better? It's all a circus.
But they're setting up Crawford and Canelo.
Which at
they
the end
want
of
it
the
to be
day
an undisputed fight.
Which at the end of the day is still not that appealing. End of the day, if you really look between the lines, it's still a guy whose best days were at 140, 147 against a guy who's a bona fide 168 pounder who's still relatively dangerous, even being past his prime. Like, who makes these fights, dude? What are we, Animali? Come on, dude. We're not Animali. Well, we are. Maybe we are. Maybe we're getting to that point. I don't know.
Let me ask you, Coach Garcia, the idea here, and Paulie's brought up many times, and it's hard to disagree. When he didn't fight Benavidez, and Benavidez essentially had to leave the weight class. And
can you imagine Chavez would have done that to Oscar?
Right.
Can you imagine?
Right.
Can you imagine? No, you can't imagine it because that's not Chavez.
You
can't imagine.
That's not Chavez at all.
Marquez was fighting Pacquiao up until the end of his career. Fought Alvarez before that, as you were mentioning.
Yep.
They didn't go on retirement tours, dude. That's why these guys look at this guy and be like,
Well, actually, Chavez did, but he didn't.
Chavez lost the belt.
Yes.
That's right. But bro, you fight. You don't take the belt with you and stock up the whole weight class and block it. You can't do that. It's like putting a monkey wrench in the wheel. You can't do that, dude. The sport still has to climb and work and all that. I'm knocking my own microphone out of my face.
If the governing bodies and the promoters are going to allow him to do it, you think he's just going to relinquish the belt?
You know what? The fans, you deserve everything you get. You watch this clown show. You order it. You let it happen. You enable it. You know what? Now when you're going to get Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis later in the year, eat it. Eat it. All of it. Eat all of it. Eat all of it because you've been allowing this for years. Now you can eat all of it. You deserve it.
So, Coach Garcia, I got to get your opinion about this. As I said, when Benavidez left the division, couldn't get a fight with Canelo, ended up moving up, has looked very good in the next division. But this idea, as Paulie says, now what are we left with? Where we're kind of like picking up scraps a little bit. Yes, it's for the IBF title. Yes, it's unification. But not a lot of people enthused about this fight with Scull. What's your opinion about Canelo's choice of opponent?
Look, I'm with Paulie in this one, man. We got to be real. We got to be honest with ourselves. We can't lie to ourselves. We can't lie to the fans. Canelo has a huge fan base, and it doesn't matter who he fights. People are still going to watch. People are still going to pay the pay-per-view because they are just Canelo fans. They don't care who he fights. They're still going to order him. We're talking about Chavez back in the days, but Chavez had to take those fights because he needed the money. He needed those fights, those paydays, because he was already, ruining his career with so many things outside of boxing, drugs, alcohol, partying, and all that. Canelo's not doing that. Canelo's secure. Canelo's calling the shots. Canelo is the one that could say, I want to fight this guy, and I'm gonna make Turki make this fight, and nobody's gonna say anything about me. Canelo has that power. Do I like that fight? No. Am I going to watch? Probably not even going to watch because I'm not interested in that fight. I want to see Monguia. I want to see the kid turn pro, that Olympian silver medalist, Verde. I want to see him turn pro, and I want to see how he performs. But I'm not very excited about the Canelo fight, and I don't think us in boxing are too excited. But Canelo does have a big fan base that are going to pay and are going to tune in.
Well, and Coach makes a great point here. You know, like I said, he got Turki Al-Sheikh to pay for it. That's
triple his price normally too. It's a lot of money.
Huge money.
He got Turki Al-Sheikh to pay for it. And think about this. Canelo's going to fight at 6 o'clock in the morning. How much are you paying Canelo to get him to decide he's going to fight at 6 in the morning? Canelo doesn't do anything, you know, that he doesn't want to do.
Well, $75 million will make me fight.
Make you fight at 6 in the morning.
I don't care. What are you talking about?
Dude, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and this is the first bona fide, one-sided, plus 7 million underdog that we're watching Turki Al-Sheikh make a main event. He's got,
out of character.
Coach Garcia said, he's got that kind of power, but ultimately, boxing pays for it.
What I'm curious about, let's look at the flip side where it's the appeal to the average fan. When I was a kid, Mike Tyson was champ, and yeah, he beat up a lot of guys, but watching that destruction.
But there was no one in the weight class that you would say, no, this guy's going to beat Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was fighting them all. It's just that's what they were.
That's what they were.
There was no... Well, it's not like this guy.
He didn't avoid anyone.
In the weight class that would have beat him, and he's not fighting them. Right. He wasn't fighting them. He had to actually move up. Okay, with Mike Tyson, he was mowing down everybody who was there. Yep. Everybody who was there, he was mowing them down. So it's not the same thing.
It's similar to Roy Jones too, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but he's not fighting anybody. No, he's fighting really good guys. He just made them look so bad because he was that guy. The only guy he didn't fight was Mikuleski, which is he didn't want to go to Germany.
Who was over there?
Yeah. Right.
Who also didn't want to come here, so he gets the same blame.
Right. But what I'm curious about on the flip side of it, I'm not saying they're a guy, you know.
And I want to say, Mikuleski ended up getting beat by a guy. Roy ended up
by
Julio
Gonzalez.
Yes. What I'm curious about is you got still that destruction. Mike Tyson had entertaining, if one-sided fight. It was a spectacle to watch him destroy heavyweights. Canelo hasn't turned in a performance like that in a while. So even that flip side of like a Roy Jones Jr. mugging and then flying left hook, you don't see that.
It's still the next best contender, so you can still sell it. This is our next best contender. Give me a bunch of highlights. Next best contender, Michael. I can still remember the Michael Spinks promotion. Like, dude, Michael Spinks had done a lot in boxing, so you could get excited for it no matter what. It's not like Canelo. You can give me all the Scull highlights
Spinks
you want.
was undefeated and one of the best cruiserweights ever.
Had beaten Holmes. Had one of the best cruiserweights ever. Olympic gold medalist. You know, you can't sell me Scull. There's nothing you can do.
Guys. Let me speak from my position because I've been to, almost all of Canelo's fights in the last bunch of years. The Berlanga fight, I know people were not happy about that fight. That thing sold.
Yeah,
that place was on fire all week long.
That's why when you get Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis, you're going to deserve it because you buy this crap.
Hey, guess what?
You're going to deserve it.
That's going to be packed too.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a
you're
hot
to
ticket.
Deserve it. Pay for it.
But no, what I'm curious about is once again, that flip side of, at least I'm paying to see the destruction. Canelo hasn't had that destructive performance to the casual fan. Like, oh man, big, huge knockout. Haven't seen that in a while.
You want to see that? Get a pet python and then feed it a chicken every day. You would see the same thing. What I don't understand. What is?
I feed mine rats.
Peter, we don't want to hear from you. Peter, we're gonna get.
No offense, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the appeal? I want to see a fight. I don't want to see a massacre. You know what I mean? What's the appeal? What is that? What am I, blood? What am I, an animal? I'm bloodthirsty? I want to see a fight with two guys who evenly matched, and hey, I want to see I'm genuinely curious who's better. You know, I'm genuinely curious about the fight itself, not about, I love this guy so much, I'm not going to sleep if he doesn't win. What is that, bro? What kind of groupie crap is that? What are we becoming?
Yeah. But Paulie, that's what fans do. It's from the word.
That's what these fans do. It's not what fans always did. It's what people did.
Boxing is a niche sport. The hardcores are such a small community. The guys who cross over, that's why they're called crossover stars.
They are manufactured.
They reach into the regular people.
They are manufactured.
So, Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar is a different generation.
The girls that showed up in his fight, did they really care about? No, they just wanted the guy to win.
Generation. Somebody like Gervonta Davis today is manufactured. He has not taken on a single top guy. He's manufactured. He's put in front of your TV. They tell you he's great, and people start buying the brainwash.
We live in a TikTok Jake Paul boxing era.
Exactly.
Those fans, the YouTubers.
I don't want to hear that Oscar De La Hoya and Mike Tyson era because that was a different era, and guys had to actually fight their way to the top. I don't want to hear that. It's not the same today. Today they manufacture them.
But the difference here, and I'm very curious about this. Did Canelo
Shakur Stevenson is the best lightweight in the world. Nobody even talks about him. We kidding each other? Because they manufacture what they want to manufacture.
But did Canelo at one time have that? Did one time?
Even at one time, he still was being manufactured. Because even when he took the top fights, he didn't give Lara a rematch. What did Mayweather do when he had tough fights?
I thought Lara beat him.
He didn't give Lara a rematch. He didn't go near him. Okay, he fought Angulo when Angulo was already shot. I remember because I was there. He fought Josecito Lopez in those days. He lost twice to Golovkin, got 2 gift decisions, and made him wait till he was 150 years old to give him a third fight. Okay, he was doing it the whole time. Bubu Andrade was lurking around at the time. He didn't want to go near him. He downplayed Bubu Andrade. Then he fought Rocky Fielding and Yavni Yildirim. No, bro. No, the whole play the whole tape. There were a few fights at super middleweight. You give him credit. He beat Callum Smith. He beat Caleb Plant. Those are good.
Billy
wins,
Joe Saunders was a very good win.
He's a good fighter. That shows he's a good fighter. But I want to see how good. When I want to watch my stars, I want to see how good they are. I want to see, wow, he's good. I want to see where he can go. I don't care if you're a star. For me to respect you, you can get beat. But you took on the top guys. If you competed, you beat some, you lost some, you get my respect. Not that my respect matters, right? It's better to have all the groupies. They'll kiss your ass way better than I will. But nonetheless, you still get the better respect, in my opinion, if you take on the best guys.
So I'm curious about this from the coaching perspective. I got to go to you again. Once again, Coach Robert, the idea that Scull has to somehow overperform, has to bring something out of Canelo Alvarez, has to give me the excitement that Paulie thinks is lacking from this card. Is there any way he can do it? If so, how?
I think Scull is just going to go out there and do his job, do his best, maybe try to box. Canelo needs to show us something spectacular. If he goes the distance or he kindly struggles with Scull, then it's going to be over for him, with the fans, with the critics. Paulie has a point. I agree with Paulie. That's what we need. We need the real fights from Canelo, but we're not going to get them. We just have to see. He needs to destroy Scull to be able to let us at least say, well, at least he did what he was supposed to do. Because if he goes the distance, or if he kind of struggles a little with Scull, then I don't know. He's not going to have the end of it. Especially with Paulie or us fans that we want to see something spectacular.
Right, but this idea, and once again, let me go to you, Chris, about that idea of he hasn't blown anybody out in a long time. He beat Berlanga, knocked him down. Blow him out of the water.
He knocked all those guys down. He just doesn't finish anybody anymore.
Right. So is that kind of performance, same when he had against Berlanga, if he has against Scull, is that a downgrade to the field?
I completely agree with Robert. I think if he struggles or goes the distance with Scull this weekend, this could be the end of him being the face of the sport, because you got people tuning in. You're changing things up. You're taking Canelo out of Las Vegas. You're taking him away from the Mexican fan base. How many people are going to be taking that trip over to Saudi? Not a
Nobody.
Lot. Not a lot.
Guys, what are we forgetting? And once he wins, you're going to make the Crawford fight, probably.
No, of course. But in terms of people trusting these opportunities, it's like, dude, what are you doing? You're going to Saudi. You abandoned your fans, the Mexican fan base. Listen, I said I've been in all these Canelo fights recently. The fight week is awesome. Those fans hang out all week long.
They travel.
It becomes an entire event, a multi-day long thing. It's very fun. It's very, very cool to see the Mexican fan base around. Boxing is alive and well when Canelo fights in Vegas. That's gone now. You've taken the trip over there for a big paycheck. You're going to fight this guy that nobody really cares to see you fight him. If he doesn't do what we're talking about, if he doesn't go out there and demolish him the way that the coach said, it's going to leave a lot of people thinking elsewhere, looking elsewhere. But then, like you said, you got the Crawford fight in September, which I agree with you. I don't care so much about that fight.
Right, but people will. My point is, Paulie.
Yes, they will.
Given that, let's say he doesn't have goes against Scull, basically looks like he did against Berlanga, people are still going to be on board for the Crawford fight. It all bounces right back up. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's why you're sort of making this fight with Scull. That's why it shouldn't be pay-per-view. If it's a setup fight, if it's a build-up fight, again, I go take it back to the Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson fight. It was a build-up fight for the Holyfield fight, and Douglas ended up winning it. But Tyson put it back on regular HBO. We were building back up, and then we're gonna go back on pay-per-view. So there's a way you create this. If you want to downgrade your level of opposition, and then you don't put it on pay-per-view, dude, it's again, like I said yesterday. This is a conversation we were having yesterday already. It's actually, you can flip the psychology. It's now appreciated. Wow, I get to watch this superstar that
You're acting like he cares.
Boom! There it is. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
That's
acting
it.
like he
That's
Roll
it.
credits.
That's it.
Roll credits.
That's it.
Been great having you here on
That's
Boxing
it.
Scene Today.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Somebody had to say it. I didn't say it. That's why if you're buying it, you deserve to eat it. Watch Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis later in the year. You deserve it. Go pay for it.
All right.
You all enable this crap by buying this kind of crap. So but people on the outside looking in on the other side in the business go, well, these morons will buy this. Let me see what other moronic fight I can make to make money. And that's why you keep getting them. You eat it. You deserve it.
So a little
Stop buying this crap. Maybe you'll change the game.
So a little positivity, Coach Garcia, to button this one. Which fight? We're talking about the Canelo fight, but we don't expect that to be competitive. We also have, once again, Badu Jack taking on Mikkel John. We got Jaime Monguia versus Suras. Bakoli coming back against Ajagba. On the card itself, you talk about the debut of Marco Verde making his pro debut. Coach, what fight are you looking forward to most?
I think it's the Munguia fight because of the way he got knocked out and the way the fight was going. I think that's going to be the fight that interested me the most because I want to see Munguia perform. I know him personally. He's very close to where I'm at in Tijuana, and I want to see him perform and do good with Eddie Reynoso, but it's not going to be easy. Like I'm telling you guys, it's not going to be easy. The fight was a really good fight up until he got knocked out. I think the fight was actually getting turned to where Suras was actually doing pretty good. Like I'm telling you, it was not a fight where Suras was taking the beating. It was a close fight. So that's the fight I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'm with that. I can't think of a bad Munguia fight. Munguia's always in fun fights. So I think if you're looking at this card and you're saying, okay, at least Munguia's on it, he's always entertaining. No matter who you put him in with. Munguia, we can put him in one of the production guys in the back. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna fight and it's entertaining. I know you guys ain't doing it. I'm just saying.
Our producer just said, not doing it.
You would lay in some shots on Munguia too, which is why it's fun. And then he wins.
If Munguia doesn't get hit, he looks at you like, what are you doing? Come on, let's go. Because I've seen him early in fights where he's looking really, really good, and then he's like, I gotta get hit. I gotta get in the mix. I gotta get in the phone booth. So he's fun. That's worth the price of admission right there, or worth the price, right? But also, Bakoli Ajagba. Yeah, that's a good fight.
Bakoli is the first guy to ever start a training camp in a fight. I think this training camp started when he got knocked out with Parker, and then he just went straight to the gym afterwards and started camp for Ajagba, because that was only a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And he was totally out of shape. So obviously camp started that night. So he actually started camp in Saudi fighting Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker officially, I guess, is one of the sparring partners because he knocked out Bakoli, got knocked out by his sparring partner, and then just kept camp flowing right into the Ajagba fight. I guess that's how we can psychologically play this one.
Yeah, we certainly can. Also, I just want to point out, if Monguia did fight our producer and our producer brought all his ex-wives, 10-1, I think he's got a good shot. We'll discuss it as it makes news on Boxing Scene Today. Don't forget, post-fight, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Join us. We'll be doing a post-fight show, half hour. We're going to be at home. You're going to love it right here. ProBox TV with the app or on our YouTube channel. Post-fight breakdown. Join us 3 nights in a row. And as it makes news, we'll discuss it here on Boxing Scene Today. Find out why millions are watching.